Good evening, Twins fans. As you know, my name is Seth of Twins Daily, twinsdaily.com, welcoming you to a new week and a new episode of Twins Spotlight. Before we get started, the Twins made some news today by announcing their official 26-man opening day roster, taxi squad, all that good stuff. So be sure to check twinsdaily.com to hear that. I'm getting a little background noise here, so bear with me. Bear with me here. I'm not a technology person. All right, how is that? All right, I was watching myself on YouTube, so here we go. But tonight on Twin Spotlight, just a reminder real quick, we're going to have another Twin Spotlight tomorrow with another Twins prospect, and we're looking to try to do a pre-opening day podcast show with several Twins Daily writers, or maybe some Twins beat writers, to just kind of preview the beginning of the season. So be sure to check Twins Daily and twinsdaily.com for that. Before we get started and I bring in our guest tonight, I want to mention that if you're watching this live on Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, YouTube, please feel free to participate. You can ask questions to our guest, send comments, say hi, whatever you'd like to do. And also, this will be available shortly after we're done on a podcast, on the Twins Daily podcast, which will be available wherever you download podcasts. So with that, let's talk a little bit about the star of tonight's show. Our guest tonight is left-handed pitcher Brent Headrick. He was the Twins' 9th-round pick in 2019 out of Illinois State, where his coach was former Twins catcher Steve Holm. I believe that's the Missouri Valley Conference. So we'll get to talk to him, and we'll bring him into the conversation. The star of our show tonight, Brent Headrick. Brent, how are you tonight?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Good. Thank you for bearing with me through my apparent technical difficulties. I'm not the first person you'll ever meet, but I like baseball. So
hey, it's good enough for me.
All right. Well, let's start basic. Tell us a little bit about yourself. You grew up in, I believe, Joliet, Indiana.
Joliet, Illinois. I'm in a smaller town near Joliet. It's called Braidwood, but most people have never heard of it. It's a, tiny little farm town, I guess you'd call it. And, grew up with, I think I graduated with 120 kids in my class, so not a very big school. And yeah, just a small town guy. Pretty much came from there and went straight to Illinois State for college. That's about an hour south from where I live. Braidwood's about 2 hours from Chicago, if that'll help anybody. But so yeah, I went to Illinois State, played 3 years there, and then obviously got drafted by the Twins. So it's been exciting.
But let's start way back then. You grew up in a small town near a bigger town, but tell us a little bit. What are your earliest memories? Little league or t-ball, or just playing in the backyard?
Oh yeah, playing t-ball, playing anything you can imagine. Basketball, wiffle ball. You just make every day different. I had a good group of friends that we've played together since t-ball all the way through the end of high school. So it was nice to have that core group. But we'd always find ways to be outside, and we're either playing pickup basketball or playing wiffle ball in the backyard. So it was always a good time.
Absolutely. Those are some of the best memories, I think, for a lot of us. Did you play like travel ball, or did you stay like in town, or, in a small team or something like that through the Little League and maybe Babe Ruth ages?
Yeah, through middle school, I was in a local travel team. And then once I got to high school, I was starting to look into colleges more and stuff like that. So I went and joined Rhino Baseball, which is actually in Joliet. And, they were great. Had a great recruiting process, great tournaments we were able to get in. We traveled all around to do different things. So it was actually the only way I was able to get recruited, because at my high school, you never saw many scouts around. So being at those tournaments and being with those guys was kind of the way for me to be able to get in college. And, it worked out for the best.
Absolutely. But I wanted to talk a little bit before we jump too far into this. You were quite the basketball player in high school as well. I want to say that you had just a ton of three-pointers a couple of years. Now you're 6'6". Were you as tall in high school, or did you just play outside, or you have some inside game too?
Yeah, so coming into high school, I was only 5'10", and I was pretty tall for, I guess, being in 8th grade. And came in freshman year, and I was 6'4", and then ended up being 6'6" by my sophomore year. So that helped me a lot. But yeah, we ran a crazy offense where it was, press, 5-on-5, hockey line, switching in and out fast, just run up and down the court, trying to score as many points as we could. And yeah, so I was always shooting threes, always found it. That was the best part. But if I had to, I could go inside a little bit too. So I guess whatever they needed at that point.
And you played on some pretty good teams. I want to say, not only all conference and things like that, but you played on some pretty good basketball teams.
Yeah, we managed to make it to sectional finals 3 years straight, and we lost all three. But hey, it was a good time. It was that same group that we played with forever, so we knew each other really well. And to this day, those guys are still my best friends. So it's cool.
That's fantastic. And you also played, I believe, 3 years of varsity baseball in high school.
Yep.
Obviously, we'll talk a lot more about pitching, but did you do any hitting in high school? What positions did you play?
So I started out for freshman and sophomore year pitcher and first base, and then towards my last 2 years, it ended up being left field. I actually played the outfield a little bit, but for the most part, I pitched and kind of focused on that. Wasn't too much of a hitter. Can't be proud of that too much, but I was out there at least. So
absolutely, that was actually going to be my question: is if you could hit a little bit and miss hitting, but maybe not.
No, I think hitting's past me. So.
And again, you played on some pretty good teams, if I remember. In fact, I think you may have gotten to state or maybe even won state a couple of those years, right?
Yeah, my senior year, we won state on a walk-off. So it was an exciting time. So that was a good way to end the high school career.
Absolutely. Now, you talked about the recruiting process a little bit at Illinois State, which is a Division I school.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about that. You mentioned playing with the Rhinos and that, but did you have options? What was it about Illinois State that made it right for you?
Yeah, so I ended up with about 7 or 8 Division I offers, mostly in Illinois, some a little in the surrounding area, but I decided, Illinois State I knew that coach pretty well from early in the recruiting process, and I've been to camps here and stuff like that before, and I actually had a sister who went to Illinois State, so I was very familiar with the campus and how everything went, and I had a chance to play pretty early in my career in my freshman year. So I knew that'd be a great fit to actually, not only develop, but to get innings and, to be around guys that I thought were able to help me, the best. So I chose Illinois State, and I guess it worked out.
Yeah, and as I mentioned earlier, the coach there is now Steve Holm, who did play in the big leagues for a few years. Not a ton of at bats, but hey, that's the ultimate goal, isn't it?
Yep.
And a long time of pro ball, and now he's doing some coaching. Talk a little bit about him as a coach and kind of what you learned from him, and whether or not that major league experience was something that kind of played into there, factored into some of that.
Yeah, so my freshman sophomore year, he wasn't there yet. We struggled a little bit, and then he came in my junior year, and we really turned the program around. Ended up getting to a regional championship game, and yeah, for me personally, it was just a different mindset. The culture was a little bit different. We just kind of held to a higher standard. Your teammates holding you accountable. It's a lot better. It just felt a lot better all around as a team. And having him as a catcher, it's perfect. You get to see the catcher, the hitter's point of view from him, and then you also have pitching coaches as well that'll help you. So it's good to see both sides and kind of learn. He's been around some of the best, so it's good to hear from him and see things that he's experienced throughout his time. And so it was a really good influence for me.
Absolutely. And first of all, those of you listening on the podcast, we're talking to Twins left-handed pitching prospect, 2019 draft pick Brent Headrick. And then talking a little bit about your time at Illinois State. Now, it looks like you came in and did pitch quite a bit right away your freshman year, a little bit your sophomore year, but you became more starts. So what was it that junior year then that kind of helped you, I don't want to take off, is that the right word? You went 9-3, 3.5 ERA, and 115 strikeouts in 96 innings. So those are things that get you noticed.
Yeah, I came into college at about 185 pounds, and then my freshman year I had to deal with a shoulder injury that sidelined me for the second half of the season, so that was a little bit tough to deal with. But, got through that. Sophomore year was just getting back into it, feeling my rhythm again a little bit. And, actually that summer after that sophomore season, I went and played in Wisconsin for summer ball for a couple months, and that's when I started to really turn things around, get stronger, get in the weight room more. And by junior year, I just felt, ready to go and ready to attack hitters again. And had a really good fall, and then took that through the off season and carried it over, and tried to have a good year.
Again, for those watching, please feel free to send us a question or comment, whatever you'd like, if you'd like to participate. You mentioned playing in Wisconsin in the Northwoods League. Talk a little bit about that experience. I think we hear from so many college draftee guys that was such an important experience for them on and off the field. What was that experience like for you?
It was definitely different than anything I've ever done before. It's 4 hours from home, but it was good. You get out of your comfort zone a little bit, meet guys from all over the country, different teams you're playing with, and to this day you still stay in touch with those guys. So that's a great part of it. You live with a host family, and I had a great host family. They took really good care of me and my other roommates. So yeah, they were like a second family to us for the 2 months I guess we were there, and great competition. Northwoods League puts on a really good program, and we were able to do pretty well and travel around, and builds confidence. The more you throw, the more you're playing, the more you're out there every day. It's just a blast out there because you can kind of enjoy it. It's summer, you're having fun playing baseball. You can't ask for much more. So
I think part of it has to be the idea of working with different catchers from different programs and maybe hearing different things, working with different pitching coaches and working with other pitchers. Not that you don't listen to your own coaches,
right.
But sometimes you might hear something just a little different, or try a different grip, or try something. And is it a case where you're not necessarily afraid to try different things?
Oh yeah, but definitely, you're definitely kind of on your own. You almost feel like in summer ball, you're away from everybody, so it's kind of nice. You can kind of do a little bit of your own thing, and yeah, pick apart people's brains a little bit and get something from them. And struggled a little bit my sophomore year, so it was kind of like a nice break to go, to just go clear my head a little bit and go play with different coaches, different players. Just kind of get a different feel for things. And I had a really good summer, and I love my time down there. It's something that I still stay in touch with my host family. They're going to come up here and visit not too long, so it'll be exciting.
Very nice. And kind of in line with that, you've got your summer ball experience, and I imagine there's scouts there as well from time to time, probably. And also then your junior year. What was your experience with scouts? It sounds like you probably didn't have a lot of interaction with scouts out of high school as much as, college coaches. But what was the scouting? Did you start seeing them around? Were there other players that were getting noticed? And how did you start that conversation?
Yeah, coming in my junior fall, it was starting to hear some draft talk and stuff like that. And, I had a teammate who was very highly regarded as a prospect and stuff, and he attracted a lot of scouts. And then, so that was really good for all of us, to be able to play a little better and stuff like that. And that's when I started to get my first real scouting interest. You meet with scouts in the fall, and it's exciting. You just something you dreamed of your whole life, and it's starting to, become more of a reality at that point. And so yeah, that fall was when it really started. And then throughout the season, here and there, and you'd see scouts and you'd recognize them, stuff like that. But for me, it was more just put that to the back of my mind and try to win with my guys and have a good time. And, that would take care of itself at the end. I tried not to, focus too much on the draft and anything like that.
How about, did you feel like your coaches kind of helped with some of that process? Understanding what was happening? Did you feel like, was it ever overwhelming at that point?
Yeah, it almost reminds you when you first try to commit to a college. You got to pick, and everything just gets a little overwhelming. And that's kind of how it was early in the process. You're trying to play better and throw your pitches better and do different things. But your coaches are there to kind of remind you. For me, it was kind of nice where they're just play your game, do your thing, and that'll take care of itself. They're kind of more there for me as, just relax, have fun, do what you've always done. And yeah, that stuff will just kind of take care of itself.
I imagine you made a pretty good impression with that appearance in the playoffs, in the regional. When I read, I think that you struck out 14 batters in 6 innings against the Big Ten champion Indiana Hoosiers.
Yep.
That's got to make because Indiana's got a great program.
Yeah, they were a really good team, and we knew going in they were going to be a tough matchup. And and at that point we were at the beginning of the year, we never expected to be that far in the season either. And that was one of the best parts, is that we were the underdogs. So it made it that much better. And yeah, everything just kind of came together towards the end there, and I was feeling good, and it just went the right way.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit. You guys advanced a little bit there, but the draft. Where were you? Who were you with? And day two. I mean, I imagine I think it's fair to say a mid-major. It's probably really hard to guess where you're going to get drafted. You may hear a lot of different things, but I'm guessing you probably weren't thinking day one, but day two had to be pretty interesting. What are your memories of that day leading up to the draft?
Yeah, the night before, that's when we got back from the trip from the regional, and that next day was the draft. And I just went home, had a good time with my family. I played a round of golf that morning just to kind of relax and just enjoy the rest of the day. And yeah, I was at home with a bunch of my family, and we heard anywhere top 10 rounds. Hopefully that was the goal. And ended up, Twins called me in the 9th round, and that was it.
Just to give a little credit too, who was your area scout?
Jeff Pohl at the time.
Okay. And was he a guy that you had talked to a bit before the draft? I mean, I kind of hear different things. Some guys say, "Oh, I talked to it. We got a great relationship." Other times you say, "Oh, they just barely talked to me, and then suddenly they drafted me." So, what were your interactions with him ahead of time, and then after you got that call that you were about to be picked?
Yeah, so I first had my first meeting with Jeff in the fall. He was one of my very first meetings, actually, and we had a great conversation. He's a great guy. And then later on that, I guess I'd say closer to the season in January, he came and watched one of my bullpens, so got to see him again there. And after that, I haven't really seen him around, but he's the one who called me and congratulated me and stuff like that. And he'll give me a call every once in a while here and stay in touch and see how everything's going. So it's been great.
It's such a great relationship between the team and the player that was drafted and the scout who obviously went to bat for you as well. So you signed. I mean, was there any thought to maybe not signing or any of that thing, or were you pretty much set on if you go in the top 10, you were going to go?
Yeah, I was pretty set because coming into I guess college, that was my goal all along, was to get drafted after my junior year. So I was able to finish college in 3 years. So I knew that was the best time for me. So I didn't want to have to go back to college later on if I didn't have to and stuff like that. So yeah, I worked hard for those 3 years and, managed to finish all my classes, and actually finished my last class a couple weeks after the draft. So it was just kind of finishing up there and just made it in time.
So what was your major? And the classic question of, if you weren't playing baseball, what would you be doing today?
Yeah, I majored in business administration, so it's kind of broad. You take classes in all the business and kind of put it all together, and you can go in any direction really. But for me, I would try to work with a sports team, in the office, whether that could be marketing or on the financial side, anything. Just be with a team, because that's sports is what I've been around my whole life, and that's what makes me makes me happy. Like being around sports and playing sports and doing everything there. So I definitely have to have a job that involves them a little bit.
I understand. Now, one of the cool things, I think, and we've talked to some other guys about it, anyone that's drafted in the first 10 rounds gets to go to Target Field to sign, I'm guessing, a physical, things like that, maybe a tour of the stadium. Tell me a little bit about your day or night or week or whatever it was in Target Field. Were there other guys there with you? And what was that experience like for you?
Yeah, that was actually incredible. So me and about 3 or 4 other guys at the time I flew in with, and then we met the rest of the top 10 rounders there. But yeah, I flew in, got to go to breakfast, got to do a bunch of tests, and then went to the field, the facilities, got a tour through everything. Got to meet all the players. I got to meet Rod Carew, Johan Santana, players like that. Just like you hear about them, but they're not real almost, you know what I mean? And it was just, It was a surreal experience. Got to go on the field, got to, sign up in the press box and stuff like that. And it was an incredible day, really.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Even now, I've been going in the Twins clubhouse from time to time. not last year, but previous years, and you see guys like Rod Carew, Tony Oliva, Jim Cott, and even now I'm just in awe. I mean, it's just they're guys that were Hall of Famers or greats, and there they are. So, do you have a story of maybe being introduced to somebody or even maybe the manager or anything, or somebody tell you something?
Not really. We just got to go to the training room, got to see a bunch of the guys, just being themselves, just being, just being who they are kind of thing. So that was cool to see, they're just real people. That's how it works, and they're just really good at what they do. And, everyone was super welcoming, super nice. Some of them are bigger than I thought they were. So that's pretty crazy. You see them on TV. They're not as big as you think, but
right.
But yeah, it was incredible. It really was.
Awesome. So then the next stop, I assume, was travel down to Fort Myers. Did you go there directly, or did you go to Elizabethton right away?
I went straight to Elizabethton from Minneapolis, and then was there for about a week or two. And I'd thrown so many things at college that I was starting to get a little fatigued, I think. So, we had a little elbow tendonitis type thing, and so after a couple weeks in Elizabethton, we decided it'd be best to go back to Fort Myers and start a little rehab process and make sure I was good to go after that college season that was so long.
Absolutely. I know, that year they drafted Cantorino and they let him sit in GCL for a while just because, like you, he had thrown a lot of innings. And that's another interesting thing, though, is after taking Cavaco in the first round, I think they went all pitchers after that and college pitchers. So, I mean, it's got to be kind of fun for you to get to Elizabethton and be around a lot of other college pitchers who just got drafted and are experiencing the same thing that you are.
Yeah, I'm still really good friends with all those guys. And, we've been talking how we can't wait to get back and stuff. But, yeah, it's good to be around that competition and see what guys can do. And, the same thing, you're still learning from other guys that you're around, and you're still, taking different things from here and there and more catcher perspectives. And, you can ask hitters, what they see, what they think. It's all, everyone's trying to, work hard and get to the next level. And so that's what it takes.
Absolutely. Again, we're talking to Brent Headrick, 9th round pick, 2019 out of Illinois State. So then you have that whole off season. You talk about rehabbing a little bit. You, I believe, got to Fort Myers last year.
Yep.
And I think it was either day one or day two you got the news. So kind of take us through from your perspective what spring training was, finding out the news, and getting home.
Yeah, so I was down there mid-January. I got to go down a couple months early and start working on different things, and the emphasis was my curveball at that time. So, we're getting better with that, working on it, and everyone shows up in the early March, and we had a meeting one day. Everyone's like, "Well, we're all here. You just stay inside. Kind of wear your mask, be cautious, and we'll have a good spring training and lead to the season." And then we walked in the next day, and they pretty much said, we're going to be flying out here in the next 2-3 days. So it was kind of a shock. I was really surprised with it all. So yeah, I was throwing bullpens for a while. Everything felt good, and that was I think the Friday we got the news that we were heading home, and Saturday was supposed to be my first live outing. So I just missed it. So it'll be good to get back down there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you get home. Were you able to either, again, state to state, it was a little different, but were you able to go to a gym or to a school or throw to people? And kind of what was the framework? I mean, for a while, you didn't know if you would be home for 2 weeks, 2 months, or the whole year.
Yeah, I had no idea. And with Illinois, there's a lot of restrictions with different things, and there's still, it's been going on for a while here now. And I wasn't even able to go to my old college and work out for a while. So I had to kind of improvise. I got a little squat rack and different things, has made myself a home gym as best I could. And we had a field across the street, my baseball field, actually. I live right by the high school, and we were able to go on there and throw and get all that stuff in. But as far as working out, yeah, I had a little setup in the garage and tried to do whatever I could to, stay in shape, not preparing for, I guess, the whole year to be off.
Yeah, no doubt. Were you in contact with, and it sounds like, with either a pitching coach or a pitching coordinator, whether it be, say, Justin Willard or maybe JP Martinez before you got the job with the Giants, or Virgil Vasquez or something? What was your I guess, communication with the Twins coaching staff or medical staff or any of that?
Yeah, they were great. Anything I needed, anything they could do to help me, they were there. They'd check in, pitching coaches, trainers, strength coaches. They'd always be checking in at least once a week to make sure I have everything I need. Everything's going well, I'm injury free. So that was a big thing. They were always there if I ever had any questions or anything like that. It was good to have a support system like that and someone, people that are trying to help you do everything you can to get to the next level.
So let's talk about that briefly. What is your support system? I'm sure you've got coaches and family at home and probably some people in college. Who are some of the people that have helped you get to this point where you're really, other than about 3 innings, trying to get your pro career going?
Yeah, I know it. My family, I got my mom, my dad, and I have a sister who's 25 now. And yeah, they've been just super supportive all along. All the coaches I've worked with have been great. Every game in college, there'd be a huge fan section of my family just sitting in one big spot. You could always tell who they were and stuff. So grandparents, aunts, uncles, a bunch of people, they were always rooting for me. So that makes it a lot easier, to work hard and do different things just because you want to do good things for them as well.
Absolutely. Before we go any further, I had asked beforehand if you had a baseball and thought maybe we could just talk and walk through your pitches. Now, I don't know, before we start, what pitches do you throw at this point?
When I first got there, I was a fastball, changeup, slider. So now we're trying to work more towards the fastball, changeup, and add the curveball instead of the slider. So change grips a little bit and, working on it, and it's come a long way. So
let's start with the fastball. Number one, I guess, do you throw the 2th seam or 4th seam? And what does that look like for you?
So I've pretty much thrown a 4-seam my whole life. It's still got, being a lefty, it's still got a little bit of movement, but I have pretty big hands, so you might not be able to see the ball too well. But 4-seam is pretty much just your standard, 4-seam grip. I don't have to hold it too deep because, like I said, otherwise it'd get stuck in there maybe. But yeah, it's your average 4-seam grip. And then for as changeup goes, I guess you can call it a circle change. Don't get too much on the ball really, but slows it down just enough to where I can pronate it enough and make it move quite a bit. And I'd consider that to be probably my best pitch.
So let's talk about those two. Obviously a term used a lot in the Twins organization and maybe elsewhere too. I just have only heard it in the last couple of years, is tunneling. And I think, from my playing days, which was again just high school and a couple of years of Division III, so not that impressive by any means, but I always thought a good changeup was as hard to hit as any pitch because you have the same motion, same delivery, and now your timing is completely messed up, not only for that pitch, but potentially for the next couple of pitches. So, is that kind of your philosophy? Has that been pushed to you, or is it just, hey, that circle change really worked well for me?
Yeah, the changeups always came more natural. I agree with you, or I always thought, it's easier to see a curveball, but the changeup's just straight like a fastball. It's just slower, so it's a lot harder in my eyes to pick up. As to see like a hitter trying to hit 90 versus 80, it's a whole different thing, and it's coming in the same. And so that's what's crazy. And yeah, I didn't really have much of a slider my first years of college. I just was fastball changeup only, and that's what kind of got me through, got me outs, and I was able to throw the changeup in any count whenever I needed it, and that was the biggest key.
Okay, so let's start with this. You threw a slider, so let's talk a little bit about your slider grip, and then kind of talk about, I guess, the decision or the conversation involved in changing to a curveball.
Yeah, so I started with a slider grip more so, which was more here, had more. But as you can see, I have quite a bit on the ball, and it was hard for me to kind of spin it and get more of like a slider action on it. So what we did was when I came down early to spring training, that was the main focus, is let's get that third off-speed pitch in the zone, throw it for strikes. That way, you just become that much better as a baseball player. So I went to what they call a spike curveball grip. So what you do is you got that pointer finger right there on a seam. And so now I got a lot less of my hand wrapped around the baseball, I guess you could say, and I'm able to get it out of my hand and spin it a lot better, a lot harder. And at first it was definitely weird. I've never thrown a pitch like this in my life, so I was a little skeptical, but I trusted him. I was just throwing it every day, getting more used to it, and now it's like second nature. So I'm glad I did it, and it's come a long way.
Yeah, I think sometimes just getting a comfortable grip that you feel good about and feeling it come out of your hands. I know that a lot of Twins fans kind of get used to hearing, say, Bert Blyleven on TV always would say, the comes out of his hands well. It comes out of his hands good. But honestly, when you're pitching, you do kind of feel it as it comes out of your hands. So, I mean, that's got to be the adjustment is how long does it take for you to feel comfortable with the grip and how it comes out of your hand?
It's incredible too. What helped me the most is all the technology that we have nowadays, especially with the Twins. They have every resource that I ever could imagine, and from video up close to TrackMan, Rapsodo numbers, different statistics that you can see with pitches and stuff like that. And that really helped me to just reach for a goal, and once you get there, keep going farther and farther. And yeah, it was just a good way to keep progressing it throughout. And by the time spring training started, I was really starting to get comfortable with it, and been throwing it a lot this off season and last summer too as well. And yeah, it's coming along, so I'm pretty confident in it now.
That kind of leads to my next question: is the technology? I don't know where Illinois State was at with that. Some colleges are getting that. Some are still working on getting that. Some have had it for a couple of years. What was your experience coming into the organization? And I think having the technology and the stats is one thing. Understanding how to use that to your benefit is another. I'm guessing it can feel pretty overwhelming. So just what has that process been for you from when you first started using it to, even today?
Yeah, so at Illinois State, we always had the classic radar gun. That's pretty much where, as far as technologies that we got there. And so coming to the Twins, I've seen a Rapsodo before, but yeah, there's 1,000 different numbers, and I had no idea what any of them meant. So when I first started throwing on it, yeah, you get to learn different things, see different things, and they're just numbers at that point. But the more I started to throw on it, the more I was like, man, these numbers really mean something. They can really help you out, and they can tell you, where you lack things sometimes or what you're good at, and you can shoot for different numbers to get more movement on pitches. It's been a really good help. I've never been into that until I got to the Twins really, and I'm glad that it's an option for us, a resource.
So, and I don't mean to belabor the point, but you had talked about the feel you had on your slider versus the curveball and spin. Are you able to see the numeric difference in your spin rate data?
Oh yeah, it's crazy how much more spin rate you're getting, I guess, and the difference in velocities and stuff like that. And I can tell, oh, that's a bad one, and the numbers don't lie. They're just right there. Or, oh, that's a good one, and you can see where you can tell exactly based off of feel and the numbers kind of where that middle point is. You want to rely on feel and the numbers, but not too much either way, I guess you'd say. You kind of got to find that balance of, do what's right for you while also getting pretty good numbers on it as well.
And last one kind of on your pitches is you talked about throwing a four seam and being able to work kind of on that, and getting the movement, which movement is typically a little bit more related to the two seam fastball. Was there any thought of adding a two seam since you've gone pro, or with the fact that pitchers are pitching up in the zone with a four seamer a lot more, does that mean that you were doing the right thing all along?
Yeah, it's crazy because in college, you hear high school and college, it's always throw at the knees, and then now, yeah, with these four seams, and I have quite a bit of carry, which means it kind of stays in the same plane the whole time. Tunnels with that changeup really well. They want me to start, throwing up in the zone more to, have that fastball high, that changeup and curveball low, and it'll kind of deceive hitters a little bit better. And yeah, it's different than I've ever done, and it makes sense, I guess. Now knowing all the stuff we do know, and it'll be interesting. I've been working out a lot more, and it's going against everything you ever learned before, never to throw it up in the zone kind of thing. So,
Right.
It's crazy how things are going.
Yeah, no, and it'll be nice to put that more into use and get some game data with it, I'm sure. But we do have a question here from Hannah. Who do you idolize, or who did you idolize as a pitcher growing up?
I idolized John Lester, as crazy as that sounds. He was just very simple, and he always got the job done. He always did a great job, and I was always that simple mechanic type person. he's got simple same kind of pitches: fastball, curveball, changeup, and that's someone who growing up I just tried to imitate pretty much every time. And till this day, yeah, it's just kind of like simple mechanics and just try to do as much as you can.
And maybe to bring it back, thank you, Hannah, for the question. Were you a Cubs fan, White Sox fan, somebody else completely, or maybe you're a Red Sox fan until Lester came to the Cubs?
Unfortunately, I was a Cardinals fan, so I have a bunch of Cubs fans in
Oh.
my house. So it was always a good rival every day. But yeah, I went to a Cubs or a Cardinals game when I was probably 6 or 8 years old, and loved it ever since then. And throughout high school and stuff like that, I was a Cardinals fan. And now it's crazy, just being around different guys that you can use to play against the Cardinals. You're watching Cardinals games, and now you're in the same weight room as guys that on TV. It's a crazy experience.
Absolutely. Last few questions here with Twins left-handed pitching prospect Brent Headrick. If anyone's got any more questions, please feel free to ask them as well. We appreciate that. I want to ask this too. Tell us a little bit, and I'm sure you had more opportunity in the last year than probably previously. But what are some things that you enjoy doing when you just want to get away from baseball? And like I said, unfortunately, you probably have more time than you've wanted to do that. But did you pick up any new hobbies over the last year?
I tried to pick up video games, but I'm not into the whole video game thing, So I gave that a try, but for the most part in the summer we had good weather. So I'm big into golf. I golfed throughout my high school career, and in college, whenever I could pick up a club, I would. And so yeah, all summer I was big into golf, and if I wasn't working out or throwing baseballs, I was golfing. So you could always find me at the course, and I love to do that. But unfortunately, in Illinois, the weather isn't good for too long, so I had to cut it short a little bit. But
well, Twins fans who have watched these episodes of Twins Spotlight, we're on episode, I believe, 34, and we have finally found a baseball player who doesn't get into the video games. Congratulations.
I tried my best, and I was like, man, I can't do it. I'm not very good at just sitting inside. I have to be active doing something. And another thing we do is my family, we drag race, so that's a good time for us. You go on the weekends and get to do different things like that, and everyone gets together and we have a good time. So
well, that's awesome. Unless Twins executives are listening to that and that's in your contract, you can't do it. But we'll leave that alone. I don't want to bring that up. But before we let you go, just have you when do you head down? I believe this week minor league camp starts, which is exciting. And when do you head down? And what are some of the things that you have worked on this off season, which has been a very long off season? But when did you kind of start ramping up your work?
Yeah, so I leave out actually on Wednesday this week, and yeah, it's been a long off season. I tried to not look too far ahead. I think that was the biggest thing, is just take each day for itself and get better each time. And it was kind of a blessing in disguise. You're able to find your weaknesses and say, I got this much time. Let's make those strengths, kind of thing. And so I've started throwing here in September and worked my way up until about January, February. Started pretty heavy in the bullpens. Now we're going lives every week and stuff like that. And feeling really healthy. That's the biggest thing. Just staying healthy and make sure you come to spring training ready to go. And I started training. I have a trainer here now, and I was able to get rid of the home gym. Don't have to use that anymore. So that was good to do. And probably, I think that was December, I was able to, get into a real gym and be around other pro guys. So we were lucky enough in my past year at college to have 5 draft picks. So we all come back to this same area and, train together. So it's a really, really good time, pushing each other to all get better and, being around guys that have the same goal in mind. So it's been a lot of fun. I'm glad to finally get outside and throw in the warm weather. So I've been stuck inside pretty much the whole time here. So
yeah,
it'll be different.
No, some people do and some people don't. But are you a goal person? Do you write them down? Do you keep them to yourself? Last week we had a guest on who basically was Willie Joe Gary Jr. and he said, They're on his phone, but he doesn't tell anybody about them. So, do you have certain goals? I imagine getting to the big leagues is goal number one, but unfortunately, baseball isn't a sport where that just happens overnight. So, do you have short-term goals? Are there certain numbers maybe that you're looking at as far as that will tell you if you're headed in the right direction and such?
Yeah, I keep goals. I keep them in, just internal goals, and kind of prepare the same way every day. I've been doing that that's my biggest thing is, as long as you're taking care of what you can control, like, eating healthy, getting enough sleep, all that kind of stuff. That's kind of been my main thing. And as far as pitching, yeah, you have your goals with different numbers and different types of pitches and stuff like that. And I've just tried to, like I said, take it day by day, and it's paid off after doing it a while. You get used to it and everything starts coming together. You can start seeing the bigger picture, and I'm just itching to get back to spring training now.
Well, we certainly wish you safe travels, and I just want to say thank you very much for taking a little time out of your evening here. Hopefully you've got a couple more days to spend with the family and enjoy that time, but thanks so much for doing this. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. And thank you to everyone for listening, to Hannah for the question. And again, whether you're watching this on Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, YouTube, tell people about it. Let people know about it. We're going to have another show tomorrow. As soon as we're done here, I'm going to get this posted on the Twins Daily podcast, which you can download wherever you download podcasts. So again, tomorrow night we'll have another show. So be sure to tune in for that. Check out twinsdaily.com for a ton of Twins information. And with that, go Twins.